My name's Sam Cook. I'm the managing director and co-founder of Esports Insider. I'm here today to catch up with Tej Kohli, who is one of the investors in Team Vitality. Tej, back in November 2018, you invested 20 million euros into Team Vitality, so the largest European esports organization investment to date. Can you tell us why you did that?
It's very simple, Sam. I mean, esports is, in my opinion, one of the largest, if not the largest, growing industries in the world today. Yes, it has been around for a while, but it has now become a very big thing. It's a lot of young people are involved in it. There are figures floating from 300 million to 700 million youngsters who are involved in esports. That's a big number considering we are only 6.5 billion people who live in the world. And in such a short time, I think that number is going to grow rapidly. And I think we will see a 1 billion mark in the near future, next few years maybe. And that was one of the reasons. The other reason is that we saw the success of what happened in the US and China. In 2 short years, people like Robert Kraft and the owner of Houston Rockets and all the other conventional sports teams bought esports teams. And with very small investments, they have managed to multiply it many times over. So if that model is to be followed, I would suggest to you, notwithstanding some success that Vitality and G2 and some other teams have had in this part of the world, it is minuscule compared to what the American and the Chinese team have experienced. It's only a matter of time where Vitality and other teams with good backing and good corporate governance and a little bit more globalization than they have done, I think it's just a matter of time that we would be at least as big, if not bigger than them. So that is an attractive thing. I have also invested in it because I believe in doing things ahead of time, in the leading edge. I believe in exponential growth. I'm quite well known for that. I believe in disruption. I believe in all these things. And I believe in demonetization. So I'm not afraid if Vitality is not profitable overnight, so long, it kind of checks all the boxes.
You realize that it's a long-term
It's a
play in
long-term
esports.
plan and it is a big deal and it's capturing a lot of eyeballs. It's a formula that has been tested to some extent in other parts of the world. I'm fascinated by youth, so it's a youth thing. I'm a technologist. A lot of this is technology. AR, VR is going to come into this. So there's no brainer. I'm a natural person to get involved in this. And
Back to Team Vitality specifically, it's still early days with the investment, but can you tell us how things have been going since November and what's on the radar right now?
things are going very well. Of course, we have a share of issues to culturally with 2 young, very clever, very smart founders and us. They are still with us, of course, and that those cultural issues exist. But the team is growing very well. I am ready to invest more if necessary, but I do want them to have a more global, outlook than they have maybe or they've had. They are opening up to that. It takes some time. They are young people who made a lot from nothing, so you can only imagine what we can do together as a team. They certainly believe that. I am very fond of them. We just won a championship in the major championship in a league in England last week or 2 weeks ago.
Going quite well, right?
Counter Strike, yes. So that tells you we are doing well. Vitality is on its way up. Does it not have its share of problems that everybody else has? Of course it does. But I am a big believer in this type of arrangement of doing things what I call top down more than bottom up, which is what they have done and admirably. But now I think with me involved and our team involved to help them, we have to do a little bit top down, take a few more risks, go to other parts of the world, open up academies in India and China. Some others have tried, but maybe we can be more successful than that. And I am On balance, very, very optimistic and high on this, on the path that Vitality is on.
Vitality have had some cool announcements recently. So they're opening their training center in the Stade de France, and they also have their new HQ in Paris opening in the near future. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
We've had quite a few debates, some contentious one with the young friends of ours and the founders. And I have decided that this cannot be done unless we are the best. So the HQ is a 5-story building. It's in the area where a lot of young people live. It's near the training center. It has got a massive ability to merchandise and to display our merchandise. It's got facilities where you can actually go and practice games, create games, give ideas of how these games are played. Any child can come in or young person can come into our facility and play and have coffee, and it's a society. It's like building a society in real life as opposed to virtually, and I think it's very well thought through. And the same team, HKS, who's building the Rams, Los Angeles Rams, is building our center. Fabian and Nico and some other people from our side were a little bit reluctant to spend so much money on it. It's usually the other way around. The owners are more, in this case, I was very emphatic that we build the best center, and I'm told this will be the best esports HQ center and the training center possibly in the world.
So moving away somewhat from Team Vitality, as an investor, which areas of esports do you think are, or which areas of esports are the most of interest to you right now?
At the end of the day, you have to win championships. In any sports, esports is no exception. Now, the problem with esports is, I mean, there are many advantages. It's like baseball is a sport, massive sport, with great income streams, with great thing that's been around forever, but it's only played in the US primarily, a little bit in Japan and other countries. This is not the case with esports. The games are played everywhere. League of Legends is played everywhere. Fortnite is played everywhere. Counter-Strike is played everywhere. PUBG is played most places. So this is something that transcends geography. And that is the most exciting part about the esports, in my opinion. Now, the fact that we are expanding into other areas is the way to go. And the regional teams like Vitality, G2, and others who have been in this part of the world and are happy to stay in this part of the world, I think we'll all have to move overseas. But the beautiful thing about Vitality is it's strongly embedded in France, and even the President Macron knows about it. So that should tell you how proud the French are there. But we need players from all over the world, and therefore we have to set up academic centers everywhere. India, China being of course, the most obvious ones. And we have to cultivate these players. We have to make the Lionel Messis and Cristiano Ronaldos of esports in each sport. I think we are doing good in that regard.
You've mentioned and touched on some of the challenges that Vitality face that certainly aren't unique to Team Vitality and that are perhaps challenges for the industry at large. There's been speculation recently over the fact that maybe some of the numbers in esports are overinflated, that there's too much hype. And I'd just like to know what your thoughts are on that.
The numbers could be inflated. It's only natural. I mean, there's a lot of hype around esports. But I have to tell you, I own a lot of businesses, Sam, as you know. I don't get anywhere near the number of phone calls or inquiries into any of my businesses than esports. So the hype is there, but there's also a big interest in our sport. And I think more and more people are coming into esports than conventional sports. I think the pendulum is swinging somewhat in our direction. Whether it's 300, 700 million, I have no doubt. Couple of years, 3 years max, you should have 1 billion. people watching it, and that's good enough for me.
It's certainly quite a few people.
Got a few people.
So as a team owner, I think people will want to know a bit more about yourself and your own background.
So I'm essentially a technologist, having, so I'm 60 years old. I have had many businesses, many successes, a few failures, of course, and I envision myself as a person who is in forward-leaning projects that are new concepts. When I got into e-commerce, very few people were doing it. We did it, and we did it well. I think esports is another example. This is the time when it's just taking off, at least in Europe, and we have entered it early. So I'm a technologist, and for me to be involved in esports in a team like Vitality is only natural, because it has all the elements that I look for. I look for eyeballs. There are more eyeballs here, as we have discussed, than anything else. I look for trends which are forward leaning, which are expanding, and this definitely has that element to it. I look for technologies. This is about as technologically oriented as things can be. And I fully expect AR, VR to come in. I expect actual simulation of these areas. When somebody's shooting someone, I actually imagine the stadiums will be full of landscapes, and this is all in the future. So to me, this is a natural fit to what I have done in life. As you know, I'm very deeply involved in artificial intelligence. This has a strong element of that, at least potentially. As you know, that I'm involved in robotics, I'm in genomics. All these are forward-looking, forward-leaning ideas and things that are happening in the world that's game-changing. Esports is also very similar to that.
So a big one to close on. What would you like to achieve in the esports space?
So on the esports team, of course, the overwhelming desire is to get more and more people watching the sport, because as a team owner, my job is to get more people involved in the actual viewing of the contests and so on. From a business standpoint, we want to be the first billion-dollar team. Whether we are the first, second, fifth, doesn't matter, but we are certainly headed in that direction. We are still some ways away from that, but we'll do everything we can. And let me tell you, it cannot be done unless we globalize it and go to other parts of the world. Just staying in France or Europe or these type of areas is not going to do it.
Tej, thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, Sam.